An extrajudicial killing is the killing of a person by governmental authorities without the sanction of any judicial proceeding or legal process. They often target political, trade union, dissident, religious and social figures. Mr. Morris did both bins as since 1 April 2021 the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Extrajudicial Summary or Arbitrary Executions supported by the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. Many human rights organizations, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, are campaigning against extrajudicial punishment. Extrajudicial killings and death squads are common in Burundi. Extrajudicial killings and death squads are common in Democratic Republic of the Congo. Extrajudicial killings and death squads are common in Egypt. Egypt recorded and reported more than a dozen unlawful extrajudicial killings of apparent terrorists in the country by the NSA officers in the Interior Ministry Police in September 2021. A 101-page report detailed the armed militants being killed in shootouts despite not posing any threat to the security forces or nations of the country while being killed, which in many cases were already in custody. Statements by the family and relatives of those killed claimed that the victims were not involved in any armed or violent activities. The 2019 Universal Periodic Review of the United Nations Human Rights Council found that in 2016, Eritrean authorities committed extrajudicial killings in the context of a persistent, widespread and systematic attack against the civilian population since 1991, including the crimes of enslavement, imprisonment, enforced disappearance, torture, other inhumane acts, persecution, rape and murder. Extrajudicial killings and death squads are common in Ethiopia. Extrajudicial killings and death squads are common in the Ivory Coast. Extrajudicial executions are common in informal settlements in Kenya. Killings are also common in northern Kenya under the guise of counterterrorism operations. Extrajudicial killings and death squads are common in Libya. Argentina's dictatorial government during the 1976 to 1983 period used extrajudicial killings systematically as way of crushing the opposition in the so-called Dirty War, or what is known in Spanish as La Guerra Sucia. During this violent period, it is estimated that the military regime killed between 11,000 and 15,000 people, and most of the victims were known or suspected to be opponents of the regime. These included intellectuals, labor leaders, human rights workers, priests, nuns, reporters, politicians, and artists as well as their relatives. Authorities half of the number of extrajudicial killings were reportedly carried out by the murder squad that operated from a detention center in Buenos Aires called Escuela Mecánica de la Armada. The dirty wars in Argentina sometimes triggered even more violent conflicts since the killings and crackdowns precipitated responses from insurgents. Extrajudicial killings and death squads are common in Brazil. Senator Flávio Bolsonaro, son of President Jair Bolsonaro, was accused of having ties to death squads. When General Augusto Pinochet assumed power in 1973, he immediately ordered the purges, torture, and deaths of more than 3,000 supporters of the previous government without trial. During his regime, which lasted from 1973 to 1989, elements of the military and police continued committing extrajudicial killings. These included Manuel Contreras, the former head of Chile's National Intelligence Directorate, which served as Pinochet's secret police. He was behind numerous assassinations and human rights abuses such as the 1974 abduction and forced disappearance of Socialist Party leader Victor Olier Alegria. Some of the killings were also coordinated with other right-wing dictatorships in the Southern Cone. In the so-called Operation Condor, there were reports of United States' Central Intelligence Agency involvement, particularly within its activities in Central and South America that promoted anti-communist coups. While CIA's complicity was not proven, American dollars supported the regimes that carried out extrajudicial killings such as the Pinochet administration. Kia, for instance, helped create DINAR and the agency admitted that Contreras was one of its assets. Extrajudicial killings and death squads are common in Colombia. Extrajudicial killings and death squads are common in El Salvador. During the Salvadoran Civil War, death squads achieved notoriety when far-right vigilantes assassinated Archbishop Oscar Romero for his social activism in March 1980. In December 1980, 4 Americans, 3 nuns and a lay worker, were raped and murdered by a military unit later found to have been acting on specific orders. Death squads were instrumental in killing hundreds of peasants and activists, including such notable priests as Rutilio Grande, because the death squads involved were found to have been